With the latest weekly jobless numbers out this morning, the extra $600 of unemployment benefits so many are getting every week are about to run out, and Republicans in Congress are nowhere near a deal to extend them.
With 25 states and Puerto Rico either pausing or reversing reopening plans, the number of Americans filing new claims for unemployment increasing for the first time after 15 weeks. 1 in 5 workers, roughly 30 million people, now collecting those benefits. Democrats want to extend those $600 payments until January, but Republicans who believe the enhanced benefit might discourage people from returning to work want to replace 70% of a worker's wages before they were laid off.
If you were making $300, you're not going to get $600 this time, and that's fair. People understand that.
Says Goldman Sachs lackey Steve Mnuchin, sure, because that's his position, the 70% wage replacement, which would mostly be covered by the states, not the federal government or the Trump administration, and which the Republican Senate Finance Committee isn't agreeing to, because Mnuchin and Trump's proposal, which includes some Republican senators backing them now, the pro-Trump ones presumably, places an insane burden on state governments that are already overwhelmed. They'd be forced to cover 50% of it, all while overhauling their entire system in the middle of a pandemic to cover payments proportionally as opposed to flat ones. So that's why some Senate Republicans and the Trump administration are kind of squabbling right now, all because the Trump administration is terrified that some poor unemployed people may get a few extra dollars. But that's not to say that the standard default Republican plan is better. This is all from Jeff Stein's great reporting at the Washington Post. Pick your poison, basically. What most Senate Republicans want to do is reduce unemployment payments to $200 per week instead of $600, which is roughly close to the 70% payment when combined with state programs, which usually covers around 45% of prior wages, but without overhauling the entire system to squeeze out a few dollars from poor folks. And at least with the standard Republican idea of reducing unemployment to $200 as claims go up from $600, Democrats could feasibly find a compromise there and maybe move it to $400 or $300 because, look, like it or not, there's a Republican president, and I obviously don't like it, and Republicans control the Senate, so the HEROES Act as it stood is, and just the extension of $600 per week unemployment, that's just not going to happen, even though that's what Democrats actually want, and that's the sane thing to do. But also, the more sane, awful Republican plan, it doesn't overhaul an already overwhelmed state system, again, just to save a few dollars. Like, the resentment that Mnuchin and the Trump administration have to poor people, they'd rather burden the states more and have them do way more work, and people are saying it's maybe impossible, just to make sure a tiny fraction of people don't get a little bit more than the 70% they should be allocated. State unemployment offices have been badly overwhelmed by the unprecedented surge in claims, and there were another 1.4 million claims last week. Thousands of the newly jobless have already struggled for months to obtain their benefits, and in some states have even camped outside unemployment offices overnight to be first in line for help. The $600 per week bonus was chosen for its simplicity compared to targeted individual wage replacement, but has proven tremendously difficult for states to implement as the nation's unemployment rate spiked to 15% before falling slightly to 11%. You're asking states to overhaul their insurance systems in the middle of a pandemic when they're already overloaded. What happens if states shift to a new system and they dump beneficiaries and miss payments because of an error? Said Ernie Tedeschi, who served as an economist in the Treasury Department under the Obama administration. It's too complicated. But no matter, if we reduce unemployment and we squeeze these people and we crush them enough, they'll return to the jobs that are non-existent. Okay. What are we doing? The pandemic is raging. We are still in the first wave, and it's increasing in most of the regions of this country right now. And the Republicans are like, just get back to work. It's because you're lazy. It's because you're lazy. This is a bad idea. I mean, McConnell caved on the $1,200 second stimulus payment because he sees the writing on the wall. If Republicans don't give relief, This is bad news, even worse news than Trump tanking in his approval ratings. They need to provide tangible benefits for Americans or there's going to be a revolt. And even the extension of the $600 per week unemployment, Washington Post in that article, again by the great Jeff Stein, who I couldn't recommend his work more highly, highlights that 60% of Americans are in favor of extending the $600. So these cuts are already unpopular. Then on top of that, you want to give a middle finger to the states so that Johnny down the street who's working at McDonald's doesn't make $10 extra than the exact proportion that Mnuchin wants in unemployment in the middle of a pandemic, as an eviction crisis is about to hit and people are going to be homeless, millions potentially. Callous, sociopathic.